Arcadia High School, part of the Scottsdale Unified School District and alma mater to the wonderful and legendary Linda Carter, is a high school decorated with an immense amount of history. Despite that history, they face many of the same challenges as a typical high school. Funding for athletic programs can be as challenging as it is. Arcadia has upwards of 16 athletic programs currently on campus. Because of the limited space on campus, many teams, like the men's and women's soccer teams, are forced to share the same field for practice. The teams don't seem to mind, but there is no doubt that they would rather have their own space. But with just $30,000 to split among 16 teams, it can be difficult to fulfill even basic requests for the teams. So to ensure teams get the most resources possible, Athletic Director Drew Amon is very conscious about how the budget is being used.
There's always going to be teams that need something that is drastic, right? So a lot of times that could be solved with planning, right? One of the things I do is I put together wish lists early on in the spring so I could do all my budget planning and everything during the summer. I'm a big believer that my job is to provide the needs of every program. So that is, uniforms, balls, bats, rackets, those type of things. That's my job, right? And I work in concert with my coaches. I have monthly coaches meetings during in season. I try to have weekly coaches meetings, like just walk me through what's going on. What do your practices look like? What do you need? Is there equipment needs that you might have? And those type of things. I tell my coaches in their programs, the wants of your programs are the things that you have to fundraise for, or your booster clubs have to really take care of.
While funding and equipment are issues, they may not be the most substantial ones for new programs. Clifford Nafarata, head coach of the women's flag football team and men's and women's wrestling teams, is adamant about that being known to the district.
We've only had girls wrestling for a couple of years, and this is the first year with girls flag football. Being a first year and a second year program for both of those, I'm very happy with the support we've gotten from the district and from on site. I haven't had anything to really complain about. I think the only thing is the limitation of space, especially on campus. That's the hard part, is being able to schedule, the one football field, the practice football field. We have a wrestling room, and it's a smaller size wrestling room where we have to have the boys and the girls at the same time. Space is an issue, so I think we need to address that fairly quickly within the next few years if we want these programs to grow the way we envision it.
Multiple players and multiple coaches involved in women's sports feel as if the district and Mr. Amon, the athletic director, are giving the money that they can. It's adequate funding, it gets the job done for the equipment that they need. But another issue is attention, media coverage of the women's sports. It's the same old story. The women's sports don't get covered nearly as much or marketed as much as the men, and that needs to change.
I think there's a lot of pressure on us to put together the booster and get that going. That's where a lot of the real funds come from. Maybe more public media versus just internally at the school too, to help raise awareness, and that could attract even new students to come to the school for the sake of wrestling here.
For Cronkite Sports in Phoenix, this is Jorge Montiel.